Hello, this is Miss Yetter, and we are continuing our read of The Worst Class Trip Ever by Dave Barry. So if you will open your books to chapter 18, page 152, we will continue. And in all my 27 years of teaching, Mr. Bardo was saying, I have never seen anything as blah, blah, blah as the idiot stunt you pulled. And now, thanks to your incredibly irresponsible blah, 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 you have jeopardized the blah, blah, blah. We were in a taxi on the way to the airport. Me and Matt slumped in the back seat. Mr. Bardo in the front seat, reaming us out pretty much nonstop since we left the hotel. I was tuning him out because A, he was repeating basically the same thing, namely that we were idiots over and over, and B, I was busy answering texts from Susanna. She and Victor were in their hotel rooms with a chaperone guarding the hallway, but Susanna naturally didn't plan to stay there, which led to this conversation between her and me. Susanna, V and I will sneak out windows. Me, then what? Susanna, taxi to WH. You meet us there. Me, can't Bartow with us? Susanna, get away. Me, how? Susanna, think of something. Me, helpful. Susanna, have to go. See you at WH. Be there. And don't get on plane. I texted her a couple more times after that, but she didn't answer. Probably she was busy sneaking out the hotel. I showed the text to Matt. He whispered, how are we supposed to get away? I don't know, I whispered. Mr. Bardo was still blah-blahing away in the front seat. I stared out the window thinking hard. My first idea was when the taxi stopped at the airport, we could just jump out and run away. But I realized that Mr. Bardo would see us, and he'd yell, and there'd be a lot of police around at the airport, and we'd probably get caught. So I decided to go with my second idea, which was hope that Mr. Bardo wouldn't go through security with us, because that way, when we got through and we were out of his sight, we would wait a few minutes and then sneak back out of the airport. I whispered this plan to Matt and he nodded. We got to the airport and Mr. Bartow finally stopped telling us what idiots we were. That was the good news. The bad news was when he got our boarding passes, he also got a special pass for himself so he could accompany us through security and take us to the plane. He obviously didn't trust us. Which made sense, actually. We definitely were not trustworthy. So we got into the TSA security line, Matt and me following Mr. Bardo and his giant backpack. We were shuffling forward, slow but steady, heading for the plane that would take us to Miami and death by Mom, heading farther away from Susanna and Victor and poor Cameron, and who knows what it was the Kazakhstan maniacs were planning to do. We were running out of time. I kept thinking about Susanna's text. Think of something. I was thinking as hard as I could, but nothing was coming to me. Ahead of us, the TSA guy was saying the same thing over and over. No liquids, no gels, take your laptop out of the case and place it in a separate bin. Remove your shoes, belt, and jackets. Matt tapped my shoulder and whispered, Wyatt, what? I was annoyed because I was trying to think. I just remembered something. What? The lighter. What lighter? The one I got at the souvenir store. It's in my backpack. The security people are going to think it's a gun. I turned around and stared at him, remembering the lighter. I have to throw it away, right? He said. No, I whispered. Give it to me. Why? Just give it to me. But don't let anybody see. Matt reached into his backpack, looked around, pulled out the lighter, and slipped it to me. I slipped it into my hoodie pocket and turned around to face Mr. Bardo's humongous backpack. It had a zipper pocket on the back with a little Homer Simpson doll hanging out of the zipper pull. I looked around to make sure nobody was looking my way, then slowly slid Homer sideways. Mr. Bardo moved, and for a second I thought he was going to turn around, but he didn't. I put the lighter inside the pocket and slowly slid Homer back. Ooh, whispered Matt, just figuring it out. When you go through the scanner, I said, follow me and keep moving. Don't stop no matter what happens, okay? Okay. We kept shuffling forward. Finally, we were at the front of the line. A TSA lady checked our passes, and we went over to the conveyor belt. Mr. Bardo had us go first. We put our backpacks and shoes on it and went through the big X-ray scanner with Mr. Bardo behind us. On the other side, we stood next to the conveyor and waited for our stuff. Mine came, then Matt's. We grabbed it. Then the belt stopped. I watched the TSA person running the scanning machine. He was staring at it hard. Then he looked over toward us. Then he said, "Supervisor, put your shoes on," I whispered to Matt. I started putting on mine. The supervisor came over. She looked at the screen, then over at us. She said something to the scanner guy, who started the belt moving again, just enough to let Mr. Bardo's backpack come out. The supervisor pointed to it and said to Mr. Bardo, "Sir, is this your backpack?" "Yes," said Mr. Bardo. "Get ready," I whispered to Matt. Is there a problem?" said Mr. Bardo. Instead of answering, the supervisor said something to the scanner guy. 3 seconds later, there were a half dozen TSA people coming out our way. One of them, a big guy, stood right in front of Mr. Bardo and said, "Sir, I'm going to ask you to step over there." "Why?" he said. "What is it?" "Just step over there," said the big guy, taking Mr. Bardo by the arm. "Follow me," I whispered to Matt. I started walking away and Matt followed. I looked back. Mr. Bardo wasn't looking at us. He was focused on the big guy, and he was starting to freak out. "Can you please explain to me what this is about?" he was saying. I saw 2 police officers, not TSA people, but cops coming into the security area, walking fast, then a couple more cops behind them. Mr. Bardo had a growing crowd around him. As Matt and I lost sight of him, the last I saw was him waving his arms around and asking what the problem was. It would probably be a few minutes more before he noticed we were gone. He wasn't good at details. Matt and I were in the airport gate area. "Now what?" said Matt. I pointed at a sign off to our left that said "Exit Baggage Claim Ground Transportation." That way. A minute later, we were back outside the terminal. We followed the taxi signs and got into a line. While we were waiting, my phone burped. It was a text from Susanna. "Where are you?" I text back, "Leaving airport." My phone burped again. "Hurry." I text back, "Where are you?" I stared at my phone, waiting. She didn't answer. We got to the front of the taxi line and got into a cab. The driver did not look thrilled to see that he had 2 kids for passengers, but he didn't say anything. I said, "We want to go to the Ellipse, please." "Where on the Ellipse?" Near the White House, I guess." He turned around and started driving. "What do we do when we get to the Ellipse, said Matt. "Look for Susanna and Victor, and then find the kite guy and try to stop them." "How are we going to do that?" "I have no idea," Susanna said. We'll figure that out when we get there," which is pretty much what she always says about everything. Yeah, and look how well everything worked out. He had a point there. We rode quietly for a few minutes, staring out the windows. Then my phone rang, with the tone I use for actual phone calls, which I hardly ever got. I pulled it out of my pocket, expecting it to be Susanna. But it wasn't Susanna's phone calling me. It was Matt's phone, which meant it was the weird guys. My finger was shaking when I slid it across the screen to answer the call. Hello, I said. Wyatt, it's me, Cameron. Cameron, are you okay? I said. Don't talk, just listen. I'm almost out of battery. We made a big mistake. Those guys. Then nothing. I said, Cameron, you there, Cameron? Nothing. Cameron, what about those guys? Nothing. That was Cameron, said Matt. Yeah. I said, I think his battery died. I tried calling back, no answer. What'd he say, said Matt. He said we made a mistake. What mistake? I don't know. The phone died before he could tell me. He started to say something about those guys. The Gadaskatan guys? I think so, but all he got out was those guys. We made a mistake, said Matt. Yeah? I said, a bad mistake.